Hi, this is a video introducing angles, but let's look at something else for just a second. Length is a measure of how long something is, and mass is a measure of how heavy something is. So what are angles? What do they measure? Well, angles measure how far something has turned. So for example, if I take this arrow and I start to turn it, the angle will be a measure of how far it has turned. Let's look at some angles in shapes. You can find angles between two lines. If I've got two lines on the edge of a window, I will have an angle created between them. This is obviously a 2D drawing of a 3D picture, which is why that 90-degree angle doesn't look like it's 90 degrees. In these shapes, and I can tell you that they're all regular shapes, which means that every angle inside this pentagon is the same, every angle inside the square is the same, every angle inside the equilateral triangle is the same. There are angles created between two lines. In these electricity pylons, between any of the two metal things, there'll be angles as well. Looking at some popular or very easy to understand turns, we have a quarter turn, which would look like that if we turned it clockwise, or if we turned it anti-clockwise, it would look like that. And they both measure 90 degrees. If we were going to turn something half a turn, it would look like that. We could either turn it clockwise, or we could turn it half a turn anti-clockwise, but it's the same thing. And that's an angle or a turn of 180 degrees. A 3/4 turn, exactly as it sounds, if we go clockwise, it's going round 3/4 of a whole turn. So that ends up there. And if we do the same, but do it anti-clockwise, then we would go this way. That's a quarter, that's 2/4, that's a 3/4 turn, and they both measure 270 degrees, which is 3/4 of 360 degrees. Okay, here are some acute angles, and acute angles all measure between 0 and 90 degrees. I can show you some here. Starting off at 0, the red line is showing you the angle between the two black lines. So starting off again at 0, an acute angle goes all the way from 0 up to 90. And when we get to 90 degrees, we call that a right angle. Okay. Showing you the angles then in 10-degree increments. They look like this. 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50, 60, 70, 80, and when you get to 90 degrees we call that a right angle. An obtuse angle measures between 90 and 180 degrees, and there they are in 10-degree increments, starting at 170, 160, 150, 140, 130, 120, 110, 100, 90 degrees, which we call a right angle. So that's not an obtuse angle. And I can again show you using these two lines. Let's go through all the acute angles up to a right angle, and then once we go beyond a right angle, now these are all obtuse angles. Look at the red line. That's showing you how large the angle is. It's showing you that it's obtuse. And then we get all the way down to 180 degrees, which looks like that. That's not an obtuse angle, that has its own special name. That's called a straight line. Okay, pretty obvious, isn't it? There we go. And then the third main type of angle that I want to show you, no, the fourth, because we've had acute, we've had right angle, we've had obtuse. The third type of angle is called a reflex angle, and it's the angle an angle that measures anywhere between 180 and 360 degrees. So I've started to go down from 360 and I got to 350 first, then 340, 330, 320, etc. all the way down to 270, which is a 3/4 turn, and then I kept going all of these are still obtuse angles: 250, 240, 230, 220, 210, 200, 190, and then we get down to 180 degrees, which is not a reflex angle, it's a straight line. It has its own special name. And what does that look like on this diagram here? Well, if we go past the straight line, we now start to go into reflex angle territory. So this angle here that I've got here is bigger than 180 degrees, so it's now reflex. Keep going, keep going, keep going. These are all reflex, these are all reflex, these are all reflex, all the way back to 360 degrees. Those are all reflex angles. So that's from 180 to 360. Okay, all reflex angles. And so in summary, if you want to make a note, here's a slide that shows them all. Acute from 0 to 90. A right angle, 90 degrees. Obtuse is between 90 and 180. A straight line is 180 degrees. And a reflex angle is 180 to 360. Thanks for watching. Bye.